Yeah, there's some moving pieces. There's some different look to the roster now with your guy Jason Hayward gone, with Kiermaier. Maybe we can say cemented into a roster spot, but you still got CT coming back. Kike's still around. At some point, they say in September when rosters expand, they want to bring back Andy Pajes. So how does all of this fit? This is the roster-bastion part of the show. How does all of this kind of fit together? I want to see a platoon. I think we need to see, I don't know if it's two platoons, bare minimum second base. I talked about this on Monday. Just kind of let it eat. I want to know Kevin's thoughts on the situation, a lot of the pieces. Where does CT3's role kind of factor into the team? All of that kind of stuff. Is Mookie going to be entrenched in right field, or is he going to maybe move into second base because Gavin Lux, as much as we love him, can't not hit lefty pitching at all? So spit for us.
Yeah. Let's, I bring my stats to the scuffle, let's say. For everybody that's not excited about Chris Taylor coming back, over his last 26 games prior to the injury, 26 games that's a month. That's a long time. He had an 830 OPS during that stretch. That's a good stretch of baseball, especially for someone like Chris Taylor, who is very streaky. So for him to sustain anything over 26 games is pretty impressive. I'll get into his splits a little bit later, but he had a good 26 game stretch prior to injury. Supposedly, he made some adjustments to his swing. He had good numbers at his time at AAA, and I think he played a game of Single A, but he was whatever. Here's the interesting part for me when it comes to possible platoons. Miguel Rojas' splits are dead even, like versus left-handed versus right-handed pitching. He's like 2 points off. He's got a better batting average in OBP against right-handed pitching. He's got better pop versus left-handed pitching. That's a 416 slug versus a 399 slug. So it's kind of that's a decent difference. But what that tells me is maybe they don't need to platoon Miguel Rojas at all at shortstop. He can start against both left and right-handed pitching. So that leaves just second base as a possible platoon. And here's where things get interesting. Lux is horrendous against left-handed pitching. I think he's like actually statistically the worst batter in baseball against left-handed pitching. CT3 over that 26 game stretch, like over the season, he's dead even against left-handed and right-handed pitching, but it's both terrible. Yeah. So I took that. I kind of just like threw that out the window against left-handed and right-handed pitching over that 26 game stretch where he showed some promise. This is after he made an adjustment to his swing, and you're hoping that carries forward to him coming back. He's actually better against right-handed pitching. He's got a 703 OPS and a 101 WRC plus against left-handed pitching, with a 915 OPS and a 159 WRC plus against right-handed pitching in that 26 game stretch. Still, a 101 WRC plus is like way better than Gavin Lux's. I think he's like at 18. So it's still significantly better, but Chris Taylor is at least seeing right-handed pitching a lot better. What I expect is an early Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux platoon at second base. You get Gavin against right-handed pitching. You get CT against left-handed pitching. However, the best platoon, if you're talking like just right out the gate, like if October started tomorrow, would be against right-handed pitching. Lux plays second base, Mookie's in right field, and against left-handed pitching, Mookie's at second base, and then Pajes goes to right field, because Pajes has arguably been the team's best hitter against left-handed pitching. He's up there. I think he's actually got a better OPS than like Teoscar at this point. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm seeing is the reason I think this move got made where they DFA'd Hayward, kept Rojas on the roster, and they weren't going to wait, is they need to see if Chris Taylor can play against right-handed or left-handed pitching, if he can be that bat. If he can't be that bat, then a tough conversation needs to happen at the end of September. If he can be that bat with his positional versatility, that gives them, like, Dave's favorite word, optionality. But at this point, I don't see a reason outside of just giving Miguel Rojas days off his feet because he's older, he's 35 or 36, one of the two. And he's got soft tissue injuries. We can get a little bit later. There's no reason to platoon Edman and Rojas. They can just start now and just run them. Kiermaier gives them that opportunity to like spell Miguel Rojas a couple days, but in my opinion, that shortstop, center field, those two really shouldn't change.
Yeah, second base is the most obvious one, and I like that point there of Chris Taylor. I think Kike has kind of played his way off the roster. He's going to be the bench guy.
He's been bad against both sides, both hands, no matter how you slice it.
Glasses or no.
I tried to butter knife stats into a way that benefit Kike, and it doesn't work. It's like no better than an 80 WRC plus against left or right-handed pitching. So
yeah, Chris Taylor, we know, has in his career in the past raked against left-handed pitching. The Dodgers get an option, or they get the opportunity to bring a player back or to add a player. I say bring a player back. It's foreshadowing there. They can add a player, technically two, to the roster in September, and that guy is going to be Andy Pages. Dave Roberts pretty much already said Pages will be back in September, and that's where this Hayward thing happens now, beyond what you said earlier, and other people in the chat were saying too, or agreeing with, giving Hayward this chance to maybe latch on with another postseason contending club right now and be eligible for the playoffs. But it's going to come down to who can kind of step up and take the reins versus left-handed pitching. Is it going to be Chris Taylor, or are they going to end up giving Andy Pages an unexpected roster spot? Because as you mentioned, he's hitting like 370 or 360 some odd against left-handed pitching this year. I agree. It's not even about agreeing. The numbers tell you he is the best against lefties on this Dodgers roster, and that's got to mean something because you always face the toughest lefties in the postseason.
He's got a 337, 383, 488 slash line that's good for an 871 OPS against left-handed pitching. Like he's just. Yeah. Give me 10 seconds. You can sing.
Well, I see this one. I see my guy IE Doyer in the chat saying, "Have faith in October," with the C and the T and the 3 October. The thing. We made a shirt about it. Anyways,
I mean, Teoscar's better at 938, but there really aren't that many better left-handed hitters. Mookie's kind of on the edge there. He's hit left-handed pitching really well, but sample size is a little bit smaller because he was hurt. But Andy Pages is really up there with like the Teoscars and the Mookies on this roster for hitting left-handed pitching.
Yeah, it's like at this point, if we're playing with house money as we're trying to create these rosters and give ourselves other things to talk about that are a little different while maximizing the players on this roster, it's just, I think I saw somebody in the chat saying, "Oh, here we go, the Mookie second base, platoon idea." It's just on paper, it's a really good fucking idea because Mookie he played very well moving back and forth between the outfield and the infield last year. He wants to be a second baseman in his career. It gives him his opportunity to kind of scratch that itch, and he can hit against everybody. So it's not a problem to have him play second base against a left-handed starter, and he can move into the outfield or back to the outfield if he needs to, change them cleats, whatever he says he does or whatever. But if they want to find a way to get Andy Pages on this roster, that's the only way you do it. It's in right field, it's starting against left-handed pitching, and it's nothing else. So if you want somebody who gives you a little bit more pop, like I don't think Kike Hernandez makes the postseason roster if
I agree. I think he's the odd man out.
He should be the odd man out.
He's the odd man out at this point.
If you have Chris Taylor, if you have Tommy Edman, those are guys that can bounce around and play defense. It's very solid to elite level, but between the two of them, and then Kiermaier needs a role. So if he's the guy who's the backup in center field, while Edman can play everywhere, you're in a really good spot there, and you're maximizing that 1 through 9 to the best of its capability with these guys that are there with Pages in right field. You got some youth, you got some some pop there, and again, he's a much better right fielder. He's not a center fielder. He should never really be playing center field, but circumstance and whatnot. But I think it's a good move. Do I think it happens? Absolutely not. But I think it is something that should be considered for this organization for sure. And that's if Chris Taylor can't kind of take the reins as the
They're going to give
lefty
him the
complement
chance.
at second base. Yeah.
They're going to give him the chance. They're absolutely going to give him runway. That's the whole reason they're bringing him up now and not waiting until September. They want to give him that chance to earn that roster spot. And for all the people that are, kind of poo-pooing Chris Taylor, I get it. I really do. Even if you want to talk about like what have you done for me lately, Chris Taylor has been better. Chris Taylor has a better stretch of games than Kike does over the last 2 years. And Chris Taylor's as good as, if not better, of a defender than Kike is. And Chris Taylor can at least play center field too, which we know Kike has struggled with in the past. So for that money, for my money right now, I'll take CT. And we'll see what he can do. What has really jazzed me up about Mookie, there's a lot of people, ourselves included, that were worried about possible position changes and role changes on this roster. Man, this last series, every time that dude has hit a double, driven in runs, whatever, he looks fired up. He looks excited. He's doing stuff on second base, whether it's just waving guys home or just giving the Eric Gagne, little fist pump, whatever. He looks fired up to do it. I think he's fine in right field. I like the platoon at second just to keep him, on his toes. And as you would say, keep him feeling froggy a little bit. Keep him just engaged.
He gets bored. He gets bored in the outfield and especially in right field.
Yeah, exactly. Mookie to send him home running into second was the best. I agree. It was awesome. I haven't seen that much from Mookie, especially in the regular season.
That was good.
That would happen in the postseason. But, you keep him, it's not often, once a week, once every other week, give him a game at second just to keep him feeling engaged. Once October hits, I guarantee you Marcus Lindbetts will not care where he plays. He doesn't care if it's in right field. He doesn't care if it's a second. He doesn't care if it's a short. He just knows he wants to be on the roster hitting the baseball. So that's something that I've seen from Mookie that has been really encouraging and something that, in the back of our minds, we were always worried about does he necessarily care? Or is he is this the part of the year that, he gets bored and just shuts everything off? I think
having that break too, quite literally having that hand break there, that I think that did so much to invigorate him or reinvigorate him. He got a break during the season. He talked about that a number of times, being able to spend some time with my family in the summer. That was cool, man. That was awesome to be able to do that. Yeah. So now he's coming back. He's a happy boy out there playing baseball. And I think that's going to juice him up for sure. I think that straight up juices him up for the postseason. Plus, he hears the demons. He hears people starting to get ready to talk about what did Mookie Betts do in the postseason last year? Oh, that's right. It was a whole lot of nothing. So he's ready. And I think when he tells us I'll do whatever they tell me to do, he's not saying it half-assed and slyly. He means it. He will do whatever it takes for this organization to advance beyond the NLDS and hopefully bring home a real championship. If you guys if you listen to Richie Flores's voicemail.
Well, I'll hear nothing about that. Hear nothing about that.
It was a real title, but 162, it just hits a little bit better. But that's where we're at on this one. Do we think it happens? I think the Dodgers will lean towards the CT3 and lean towards the safe, but maybe this Jason Hayward thing tells us they're not. They're more willing to kind of think outside the box a little bit and not always be safe and not stick with the guys they know or whatever. So maybe that does mean CT3. Maybe that does mean some Mookie Betts. I don't know. I don't know if I added anything there by saying what I said as I tried to kind of button this up a little.
The question, to answer your question, I think they give CT that run early. But what I believe it means is if CT goes in a 2.5, 3 week stretch where he sucks, we're talking, the CT 161 that everybody's joking about, they'll just say, no, man, we can't do it. I think they're good. They have enough really hard conversations coming down the pipeline. They just had it with Jason Hayward. They might have to have it with Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller. We talked about that a little bit later, but those are tough conversations coming down the pipeline. I have no doubt they could look at CT and go, hey, man, just, this ain't your year. We'll ride you till October, and then that's it. We got our best options don't necessarily have you on the roster. So I think this is that year that has told me that they are finally willing to do that. And this Hayward move told me that they're willing to do that, because Dodgers in 2021, Kiermaier's gone, Jay-Hay's on the roster. 2020, same thing. They put Colton Wong on the roster over Ahmed Rosario because it was Dave liked what he did.
Also they just apparently hate Ahmed Rosario, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. So I think this year's the actual year that they go, you know what, enough's enough. We got to put the best 26 guys on this roster, and if CT3 or Kike aren't on those 20, aren't among those 26, thanks what you've done.
Yeah. Well, enjoy the ring when you get it.
Yeah, exactly. All these guys are getting a ring anyway. Jay-Hay, even if we win it all, Jay-Hay's getting a ring.
Hey, those are our thoughts. We want your guys' thoughts. Sound off in the comments below. Right now in the live stream, we're going to be reading them, but afterwards, this might be a little, thing that's another video. So, sound off in the comments. What do you think is the best version of the Dodgers roster? What do you think actually happens? What do you want to happen? All that kind of stuff.